Hello, everyone. I'm Dave Fry, and welcome to the Space Between podcast, episode number 5. Today, I have the great honor of speaking with Connie and Bill.
I'm Bill DeKramer.
Connie DeKramer.
The brilliance of this understanding is to share in our infinite possibilities and to point you back to your innate well-being. We already see you as well. We know that you're not broken. This understanding unleashes profound inner freedom that is sustainable and life-changing. Please consider working with Connie and Bill. If you're struggling with your weight or perhaps around food concerns in any form or fashion. You seek wisdom and clarity for yourself, and they understand. All I ask is that you listen, not with your ears, but with the awareness of the feeling you experience during these amazing conversations. Because we truly never know how we're going to show up, and life is a dance. At the end of this podcast are some funny deleted scenes. Please enjoy.
You're ahead of schedule.
We have 2 minutes just to goof around.
Connie and Bill have helped people restore health and lose weight naturally for over 25 years as former restaurant owners, cookbook authors, and lifestyle coaches. They've added a new piece to their program in the last 3 years, making it even easier for people to regain a vital health level and achieve their naturally healthy weight. The key to their success is utilizing the 3 principles to help people understand how the mind works. Food and lifestyle habits that contribute to poor health and excess weight begin to unravel without effort or willpower. They have a fantastic website, and they're on Facebook and Instagram. I'll have links in the descriptions below. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe.
Infinite.digabagidibadoo.
Hi, Connie. Hi, Bill. Welcome to the Space Between.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you, Dave.
Great to be here with you.
This is such an honor for me. It's great that you're here. I can't wait to share and the understanding that you have and the business that you're in right now. So tell us a little bit about the business that you guys run.
Okay, well, you want to
You
start?
go.
Okay, I'll start. Well, for the last 30-some years, when I met Connie back in the late 80s, I had a lot of pain in my body, a lot of arthritic pain. I was an athlete playing volleyball competitively, and I'd come home from a tournament and have all this pain in my shoulder, my knees, my hips. I'd have to hold both handrails to go downstairs after a tournament. And I'd been seeing a lot of professionals about it, trying to, lower the pain. And they gave me exercises and supplements and different things. And I always said, does it have anything to do with my diet? Should I eat something different or leave something out? And they all said no. I met Connie, and she saw how I was eating. And she said, well, with all that pain, what do you think about dropping the dairy? Because I was lacto-vegetarian. I ate a lot of cheese and half and cheesecake. And I thought, well, that doesn't make any sense. I've talked to all the professionals. They know that it doesn't make any difference. She said, well, if you want to try it, I'll cook for you for a couple of weeks. So I did that, dropped all the dairy, went from eating porridge, an oat porridge with half and maybe a little slice of cheesecake under it all and a little brown sugar on top. Went from that to kale, brown rice, and miso soup. So it was quite a shift, but I went from processed, high sugar, inflammatory foods to whole food plant-based, and Dave, in 2 weeks, 60% of the pain was gone. I couldn't believe it. So that got me on board. So for the last 30 years, we've been helping people restore their health with whole foods.
That is incredible.
Yeah, and for me, where I got involved, Dave, my first husband had a life-threatening heart arrhythmia. And we went to the Cushy Institute in Boston and learned macrobiotic, whole plant-based eating, whole food. And he completely cured that arrhythmia, got off all his meds, and restored his health. So I began to really be interested. And then I created a very large fibroid tumor, the size of a 6-month pregnancy, and eating raw wheatgrass juice, ferment foods. In 2 weeks, it shrunk to the size of an egg. So I knew from that point forward that food was it, that food had great healing, curative properties, and I wanted to learn everything I could.
And so, yeah, I guess what I would say is that it's the body that has the healing capacity, isn't it?
True.
We just need to give the body what it needs.
Yeah, that's a better way to say it.
Wow, that's incredible. I had no idea. I mean, I feel like I've heard those stories before, but I obviously wasn't paying attention because that's an incredible story. Amazing. Both of you.
Well, we lived also in an Ayurvedic community, which is where I met Bill. And I got my master's degree in part in Ayurveda. And so we lived whole food, plant-based macrobiotic, Ayurveda, and then all these living foods, these live raw foods. And those are the 3 main healing disciplines that are out there.
And that's what we do with all of our clients, is that we give them guidelines, whole food, plant-based, what to eat, how to eat, that kind of thing. But there's no restriction because we want them to really experience the impact of whole food, plant-based in their own bodies. So they're listening to their own wisdom, as opposed to an idea like if you eat this, your body goes into this style of functioning and you'll lose weight and da-da-da. It's like, what is really occurring in your body? Really develop an intimate relationship and ability to hear the intelligence of your body, because we are designed to restore health and thrive. The DNA in every cell is a blueprint for health and longevity.
And we start people, encourage them to drop all the inflammatory foods so they get a chance in the 6-week program to really connect with how the body thrives. And then at the end, Dave, we transcend all food philosophies and encourage people to begin following their inner wisdom for all the choices they make for food.
Can you give us some examples of inflammatory foods?
Sure. So all animal, alcohol, sugar, coffee, processed food of any type, artificial sweeteners, and what did I
think
forget?
that's it. That's the bulk of it.
Yeah. Anything in a box or a can, oftentimes with a label, is going to be inflammatory. Although certain foods like beans, they're wonderful. They're just the opposite.
Yeah, so in a way, if you just look at the standard North American diet, if you look at a hamburger, you've got the processed food, you've got the animal, and you've got a little bit of vegetable in there. You know, that ratio just is not great. So the beautiful thing about focusing on whole food plant-based is you don't have to think about what not to eat. Because if you go to a whole food, it's not processed. That eliminates that inflammatory category. If you go to the plant-based, then you've eliminated the alcohol, the caffeine, because caffeine is processed, the dairy, the refined sugar. You know, I mean, if you go to whole food plant-based, you don't have to think about what not to eat, because it just eliminates it automatically.
And I didn't mention that, Dave, but dairy is a major, major inflammatory food. So what's so neat, what happens for people, they start dropping these inflammatory foods, their pain diminishes, their energy goes up, their clarity goes up, and like Bill says, they form a very intimate relationship with what their body thrives on and flourishes with. And then as that relationship grows, it can guide their every food choice long term. So we like that.
And just to clarify one thing too, I've begun to understand there's a distinction between plant-based and whole food plant-based, because we've seen a lot of vegans who are plant-based who don't seem real healthy, and I'm thinking, now what's that about? And we look at their diet, and they're still doing a lot of processed foods. Now, I mean, you can eat donuts and Twinkies and be plant-based. And so again, it's a subtle distinction, but it makes a big difference. We've worked with hundreds of people, and what's interesting is that not everybody goes 100%. They'll do like 90%, and they notice great change. It's really great. But what we see is that those that go 80 or 90%, but not 100%, they get like 40, 50, 60% of the impact of the benefits of the people that go 100. It's quite interesting. It's not kind of just a linear relationship there. If I improve my diet 50%, I'll get 50% better. It doesn't seem to work that way. So we find by going whole food, that basic whole food plant-based, that basically eliminates all the inflammatories. And that's where we have problems with stiffness and soreness after we work out, and that all those oxidative metabolites that are there from the workout, we aren't getting the antioxidants in that are there in the whole food plant-based diet.
And one thing, Dave, I really want to emphasize that most of us don't realize, I don't think, is if we're carrying extra weight, we're not healthy. A healthy body doesn't carry excess weight. It's just what happens in the natural evolution of who we are. So it isn't that we have any thinking even about weight other than its relationship to health. We want to really look at what level of health do I want to live? And as we move toward greater health, the weight drops off naturally. There's no need to focus on it at all. We supply so many excellent recipes that are easy to prepare that they seem to find abilities to do it with no effort. And then toward the end of the program, we show people how to look at recipes from their core ingredients and create their own. Because again, we want them to rely on their own inner wisdom at the end of the program and use a recipe for inspiration to create your own, because your body is unique and it will have a desire for certain foods that my body may not. And that's all totally appropriate for our optimal health.
And what's nice too about the recipes that we use, they rely on the food to give it the flavor, as opposed to getting real fancy with a lot of gourmet sauces and roasting this, and they're very simple. And I think it's that simplicity that really gives them a lot of the punch that people like so much.
True.
They're real clean, whole food, and easy to prepare.
And what's neat is so many of our clients rave about them. They're not just liking them, they're loving them. So we like that feedback. We know that it's helpful.
So tell us more about the program. What are you offering?
Well, we do a 6-week program, and each week we send 2 video lessons. We send recipes for the week. We do a one-on-one personal coaching so that if there's any difficulty along the way, we catch it very quickly and support them. We have a private Facebook page where they can post, and we post what we're making so that they learn from each other. And then we have a call once a week with the whole community so that, again, they can share, deepen their understanding, and learn from one another.
Yeah, and Connie mentioned the coaching, and that has really turned things around for us in terms of how effective and sustainable the program is. Because, like I said, we've been teaching this for a long, long time, and we always saw good results with people when they were working with us that 6 weeks and they lost the weight and they got rid of the pain or got off their diabetic meds or whatever it was. And then sometimes we would see them 6 or 12 months later and the weight's back on. And we say hi and the pain's back. And it's like, well, what happened? And what would happen is that they would simply fall back into their old diet and lifestyle patterns because of the pressures of their life, pressures around work or from family members or whatever was going on. So we've added this new element in the last 3 years to include an understanding about how life works and the nature of the mind, which helps people kind of unravel the responses that they have, the ways that they're using food. So often when we feel stress and tension in our lives, many of the people who come to us with a weight loss issue, they look for relief from that tension through food, chocolate chip cookies, pretzels, whatever it is, And so they do the 6-week program and drop all that. And they have all these results. And then they go back into their lives and little by little, things start creeping up again. That tension's there and they go back to some of their old habits. So with the understanding that we have now about how life really works, the nature of the mind, we can help them understand that turning to the food for relief is looking for something outside of us in order to change how we're feeling. And what we're able to share now is how it isn't the circumstance. It's not my boss or my kids or my wife that's creating the tension. It's my thinking about my boss, my kids, and my wife. And so with the coaching, they begin to see that they've had things a little upside down. They've had things a little outside in instead of how it really works from the inside out. And it's so beautiful to see, Dave, because they've been struggling with it for years. And when they get it, it's like their whole face relaxes. It's like, oh, that's what it is. And it's beautiful because that's sustainable. That kind of breaks that cycle so that then when tension starts building again in their lives, they're not going back. They may have the idea, oh, a chocolate chip cookie, right. But it doesn't have the same grip. It doesn't have the compelling, I've got to have that cookie anymore, because they're seeing, oh, it's really on the inside is how I'm thinking about my condition or my circumstance that's driving this. It's really made a difference.
And then old habits start to dissolve and fall away. So they can sustain what they've learned more and more easily, which is very rewarding for us and for them too.
It's incredible. Go on.
Well, that's so great. For 30 years we've been at this, and for the longest time, there weren't a lot of other people out there confirming it. Now there's so many MDs who are on the bandwagon because they've seen it's the one way they can really help their clients. So there's Dr. Esselstyn, there's McDougall, there's Bernard, there's Joel Furman, Dr. Michael Greger. There are just more and more and more young physicians I notice on YouTube. So we know what supports the body to really be healthy and have great longevity. At our age, we're very interested in clear-minded, fully functioning physically longevity. And we just feel so grateful that we've been eating this way for so long. And it's been a journey, we've made shifts and changes as we go along, but it's been a great journey, and really we feel blessed that we were introduced to this way of living and thriving.
Yeah, and just to expand on the point you just made, this journey has changed. That is, what is on our plate today is whole food plant-based. And what was on our plate 30 years ago was whole food plant-based, but it looks quite different.
Yeah.
The amount of grains, amount of beans, amount of greens, the starchy veggies and that. that changes. So that's the beauty of having this umbrella of whole food plant-based, but listening to your body, because our needs change over time as we age. Our needs change from day to day, depending on whether I'm a triathlete or whether I'm a computer programmer. So, with the umbrella of whole food plant-based and really developing a healthy relationship with food and really listening to the body, we will naturally be drawn to the foods that will provide what our body needs in that time, place, and circumstance.
Yeah, and we do a lot of things, Dave, to make things quick and easy when people want that in their lifestyle. Like breakfast this morning for me took 5 minutes. I made a peach smoothie that's just delicious. And Bill had a green smoothie and some baked squash left over from last night. So there are ways to take shortcuts that actually are great for the body. And it's good to know those. One thing I want to emphasize, we love to take the time to spend half an hour or an hour with anyone interested for free to find out what their interest is, what their concerns are, and tell them about our program. So anyone who's interested, don't be shy, because whatever is going on with you, we've probably experienced it many times, and we'll be happy to give you some suggestions for free to make a difference in your life and share the program. And if it's right for you, we'd love to have you along for the ride. And if it isn't, we just send all blessings for your journey wherever it goes.
I appreciate that. And I know people are going to get a lot from this understanding, and not only of food, but the understanding that we share of the 3 principles. Would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I want to say something first, if that's okay. What is so fun about this, Dave, is every difficulty that we perceive as a difficulty with our journey through life is actually an invitation into seeing, experiencing, living more of who we truly are. And that's how we approach every perceived difficulty in the program, that people can begin to see, instead of, oh, I don't want to go through that again. Oh, here's an opportunity for me to learn something and see deeper into who I really am and live life in a more effortless, easeful way.
Yeah, it's interesting, Dave. I was thinking about my father this morning because he ate the standard North American diet and had a triple bypass. In his 50s, had half of his colon removed due to IBS and Crohn's disease in his 60s, and died when he was 69. Not a healthy, happy man. He was alcoholic, he was diabetic, he had all these problems. And it was always such a puzzle to me and everyone else in the family, because on the outside, he was living the American dream. He had a thriving business, he had more money than he needed, he had a loving wife, he had kids who were healthy and successful. He had a boat. He always wanted a boat. He went fishing every weekend. All the things on the outside that would say, this is the formula for happiness. And yet he was drinking. He was eating terrible. He wasn't exercising. And I always thought, why does he do that? He's got everything. And as I've learned more about how life works and the nature of the mind, I began to see what put all that together. I remember when I was about 8 years old, my mother said something to me about, oh, your father has bleeding ulcers. And at 8 years old, I didn't know what bleeding ulcers were, but it was clearly a sign that there was a health issue. And so I put it all together. And if he had bleeding ulcers when I was 8, so he was in his 30s, there's probably something going on with his thinking about life. That ulcers and all that are such a reflection of a sense of stress and tension in life. And it has everything to do, I understand now, not with the circumstances, but with our thinking about the circumstance. And so all of those years, all of those decades, he was continuing to have this thinking about his circumstances, which on the outside were ideal, but on the inside with his thinking were creating nothing but turmoil and distress. And so whenever we feel that tension within and we think it's from the outside, then we look at trying to manage the outside and find things from the outside that will relieve it. So that's food, and that's alcohol, and that's whatever works. But it just keeps getting bigger and bigger because it's not working. And then it has more and more of the side effects. So it's really helped me understand. I've always had a lot of compassion for him and what he was experiencing, but I never quite understood it until I learned more about how life really works, that it's our thinking about our circumstances and not our circumstances that make us happy or unhappy. Yeah, and up until 3 years ago or so, when we found this understanding, we were eating well and living a good lifestyle, but still I would find myself run up against that wall of discontent or being irritated, or somebody cuts me off in traffic and and what is that about? And now with this understanding, when I do get triggered, because I still get triggered, it still looks like the guy that cut me off is what's making me feel angry. And then I catch myself and I go, oh, wait a minute. I'm feeling this tension. It's probably not what just happened. It's my thinking about it. And it all starts to just like fog, it starts to dissipate. And suddenly that tension isn't there. Now, what's so beautiful is as we coach our clients in this understanding and around their food and that too, they begin to feel less tension in their lives. And so they suddenly aren't feeling drawn to using food like they used to. It's kind of a double-edged sword too, that tension we feel from misunderstanding that it's a circumstance that's making me feel this way. So I've got to manage the world in order to get it right so I can relax. So when I've got it backwards like that, I've got all that to deal with. And then on the inside, physiologically, I'm producing a lot of adrenaline, a lot of cortisol. I am not digesting well because of all these hormones. And so it's like a double-edged sword when I don't understand how life works. And I don't understand the nature of the mind. I'm caught in this vicious cycle of making it hard for my body to thrive and continuing to create stress that's making it hard for my body to thrive. It's beautiful to start unwinding that.
Yeah, and also I think it's important for all of us to know when we're under stress, when we create these stressful situations or experience them, and cortisol levels go up, that's a major way that we put weight on. So it begins to be more clear how all of this happens. Processed foods really make a huge difference in our weight. And what I notice with people, even who I'm close to, they will start on a processed food journey looking for quick and comfort. And they just keep gaining, and really often wondering why. So those are more the physiological factors involved. But we cover all of it, so they get a chance to really find ease.
It's a thought game, kind of, right?
That's true.
Yeah, our reality in any moment, that just to kind of use a thumbnail sketch of what this understanding is about, is that our reality, what we're experiencing in any moment, what we're experiencing life to be, is just a reflection of our thinking in that moment. So it is all a thought game. It's all made up because, look at right now, I'm having an experience and Connie's right there. And I'm pretty sure she's not having the exact same experience. It's what's going on the inside that's creating the reality that I'm experiencing. And when I understand that, then I see when I'm feeling tension and stress, that tension and stress isn't so much about the circumstance. It's not that I just got laid off or that I'm stuck in a house with 3 screaming kids or whatever. My tension is my thinking about that circumstance. As I begin to really get that, then it doesn't mean that I don't do anything about my circumstances, but I understand that that doesn't have to change for my experience in this moment to change. I'll give you a little story. Connie and I are kind of neatniks. We like the house real tidy, and she's way more of a neatnik than me. So it's always been, we've got to clean the house once a week. And I'll tell you, okay, I got to tell you this. This is my perspective on it, right? This is not her perspective. But at times in our lives, we've been real busy. So we've hired someone to come in once a week to clean the house. And more than one of those people who would come in to clean the house, they would say, when I come to your house, it's already cleaner than most houses after I leave them. So anyway, when we don't have someone cleaning the house, which we haven't for a long time, I used to get uptight. It's like, I do not like cleaning the house. I also don't like paying someone else to do it. So kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. And so one day I was really annoyed. And I had that thinking going on, once you just open that door, it's like, I don't like cleaning the house. And I haven't liked it for a long time. And she always makes me, and the thing just starts, this thought castle starts being built. And the feeling gets greater and greater. I'm feeling my moment to moment thinking. And for some reason, Dave, I had the thought that this is just my thinking. I don't have to feel this way. And everything quieted down. And all of that energy I was feeling in terms of anger and annoyance, it turned into cleaning the house. I have never had so much fun cleaning a house. It was such a dramatic experience of how our thinking creates our reality and can turn on a dime. It was beautiful. It was beautiful.
Yeah, I want to build on that a little bit, Bill. So what we're about in this program is supporting people to really see their moment-to-moment experiences from my thinking and the feelings that accompany that, and taking them further into who they really are, into the deeper sense of who they are, which is innate health, which is this source of wisdom that is phenomenal that we all have available at all times. And we utilize it, but we don't always recognize it as such. And the love and compassion and beauty that each and every one of us bring. So that's our ultimate objective. But I wanted to come back to something you shared, Dave, in your story. What they have found is, as we eat these processed foods or high inflammatory foods, the dopamine receptors in the brain become less aware, let's say. And so it takes more of those inflammatory and processed foods for us to get a level of satisfaction. So your wanting more and eating more is a very natural part of that process. And conversely, when we drop all of that and begin to eat in a way that the body flourishes, we lose cravings for those foods. Our energy goes up. We connect more with our true nature. There are just so many benefits. And we love for people to experience it. That's really fun.
Do people find it easy to follow your program?
Well, the thing about many of our clients, as Bill said, they've tried so many things, Dave, over the years. They've lost weight, gained it back, lost weight, gained it back. So sometimes they'll come in with a bit of skepticism and resistance to following a program, but that seems to dissipate very quickly. And they just get so grateful for what they're learning and this depth of experience about who they really are and about how life works, how it shifts things for them around food. And they begin to see a new path, a new world open up in this area that they feel has always eluded them.
Well, and one of the tenets of the program is that there are no restrictions. We give guidelines, whole food, plant-based, and eat this much of this, that much of that, but it's all in the context of what we're wanting to do is really enliven your connection with your with the intelligence in your body. So, for example, we were working with one client, and she was okay. So she's in her 70s. She's been dieting since she was a teenager. She's done a lot of this, and she's just this beautiful woman who really does things well. What she puts her mind to, she does. So she's been on the program, and she has done it perfectly. I can't believe she's sending us these emails, and it's like she is the perfect student, right? And then we're doing one coaching call with her one day, weeks into the program, and she goes, God, I keep having this desire for this hamburger and fries. There's this place in town that does the best hamburger and fries in the world. And so we said to her, well, why don't you go do it? And she freaked. She goes, what? We said, yeah, we've been telling you there's no restriction. You listen to your body. And if you keep getting to go have that, we encourage you to do that, because whenever we're trying to fit our lives into a box, into a restrictive aspect of life, it's going to bite us in the butt. It doesn't work. What we have found is that by allowing and explaining to clients that there's no restriction, we have guidelines, but those are a compass point. They're not a hard and fast, you got to stay on these rails or you're going to die. And so she said, I don't know if I could do that. I'm just so afraid if I go and do that, I'm going to completely fall into the abyss. I'm going to be lost forever. You see the thinking that she wasn't even clearly aware of until we started to explore it more. And I said, well, do you think that's true? Are you going to fall into the abyss? And she went, well, of course not. So the next week, she does it. And when we work with people around eating foods that are off the program as part of this no restriction, we encourage them to eat with presence. You want to explain kind of that presence exercise?
So what's important is to really put all of your awareness in your mouth, chew the food, taste it, feel its texture, smell the smells, and chew until it's fully liquid. And while you're chewing, feel love for the food. Really from your heart, feel love for this gift that you're chewing up. And then, this is the most important part, notice when you swallow how your body received that food. Because in this exercise, Dave, in getting more present, they recognize, like she did, I didn't really even like the taste of it. I was surprised. Isn't that interesting? But that's, too, how the taste buds change as you eat in a way the body is loving. You don't want stuff that you used to want. There's no, I can't have it. But that's what's great, too. Like Bill says, there are no restrictions. And we let every opportunity be a learning and a taking them deeper into their relationship with their inner wisdom, their body's wisdom.
Yeah, so there's nothing off the table. Well, like I say, there's nothing off the table. We want you to really be guided by your own intelligence. And so no food is an enemy. We don't need to fight anything. What just came to my mind is an old quote from Abraham Lincoln. I think he said to one of his cabinet members, apparently when he became president, half of his cabinet he filled with people of the opposite party and with dissenting views. And one of his cabinet members came and said, "What are you doing? You know, your cabinet's full of half the people are your enemies." And he said, "Yeah, but when I make a friend of an enemy, have I not vanquished the enemy?" And it's not like that with food. You know, if hamburgers and fries are something I want, you know, but I see them as the enemy, I'm in a constant battle. But when I allow myself to experience that, relate to that in a real and authentic way, if I'm honest and present, there's probably going to be a signal that this is not something you want to do. I mean, I'll go off and eat something sometimes more than I really need or something. And when I check in, my body is saying, "What are you doing? Why are you doing this?" You know? And it's like, oh, we have this intelligence. And as we develop a healthy relationship with that, when we begin to recognize that the preciousness of this body is almost like having the preciousness of a young child to take care of. We don't want to do something that's going to harm it. But when we're lost in our thinking, looking for relief, we override that sensitive caring because the need to find relief becomes so great.
Yeah, it can feel so big.
It feels so big. So yeah, it's beautiful to start seeing this unwind, Dave, and people just finding such relief. Oh, you mean there are no restrictions? You know, so many people have been doing I got to get it right because then I'll be happy because then when I lose the weight and da-da-da. Wow.
You know what really resonated with me just now? I mean, I could feel this resonation where you had talked about the relationship and the relationship to ourselves. My gosh, that was so beautiful. I mean, I felt it. I felt chills like throughout my whole body. It was like, it's incredible to think of how incredible we are. First off, let's just think about what flows through us, that incredible entity itself that's flowing through us, the creativity that flows through us, our imagination that flows through us, these beautiful thoughts and experiences that we get to have. And then all of a sudden, you just speaking about that relationship was really powerful for me because it makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense. We're a living creature. We're a living entity, and we should at least give it the best try that we can to experience ourselves in our fullest potential. And what better way than what you're offering people? So thank you so much for your service. This is really amazing. And what else can you share about the program or anything else that you'd like to share? I know people are going to come in here, like you said, they're going to come in with hesitation, with trepidation, with constipation.
Yeah, it's all made up. Just if you're interested or just want to ask a question or learn something about how to move forward with healthy food in your life, contact us. We're happy to share and we'd love to get to know you.
Contact us on the website and they can schedule that free 30-minute consultation if they like. And feel free to share our email and happy to have them just contact us directly as well.
Yeah, and we have a lot of little short videos on the website they can watch, lots of free recipes. There's lots of resources they can look at. So
AmazingHealthEffortlessly.com.
Awesome. Connie, Bill, thank you so much for being here on the Space Between podcast. And I'm grateful for what you're doing in life. I'm grateful for your service to others. And I know from my own personal experience that what you're doing is amazing and awesome. Just keep offering services to help people see their innate well-being.
great.
That's it, Dave. Well, we sure appreciate being here. Thanks for inviting us, and we love what you're doing. Everything to brighten the earth, brighten life.
Thanks so much, Dave. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
You're ahead of schedule.
We have 2 minutes just to goof around.
Oh, this is so much fun. I don't know why. You look back and you're like,
What took me this long to do this? This is so much fun.
Better so that I can show people the real us.
The thing about getting closer, it makes our heads bigger.
awesome.
The elevator speech, right. This was not an elevator speech.
Yeah, I wanted the elevator speech, but it was just like my mind was all over the place.
Boom, boom, boom.
So anyway,
Ready.
just a second while I compose myself.
It's tasty. That's me. It's yummy.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I appreciate both of you. Take care. Glad you
Yeah.
have a clean house. And
Okay.
I'll see you later.
Right.
Bye.
Okay,
Bye now.
bye.
Here we go.
Awesome.